What's up, wall fans, comment sensors, and of course, social media world? I'm going to talk about it a little bit during the actual episode, but we're still having issues with not issues with the live feed necessarily, but with our setup for the live feed, which is not even showing me that it's working right now. Let's see here. So I'm trying to pull up the live feed for anyone that joins. I'm still not able to get all of the, not able to view the actual chat because of updates with Facebook that have been happening. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. So hopefully we'll actually be able to view any of the interaction on there. Still working on getting a webcam. We're going to talk about it. It's craziness with the webcam and everything. So bear with me. I'm going to do my best to, yeah. And actually, let me see something here. Now, okay. One moment. All right, we are good to go. I think I finally got comments back. So if you join in, hopefully I'm actually going to see your comments. We got some good stuff today. Going to be a little shorter show than last week. Was making up for some lost time last week, and this week I'm exhausted. So that being said, let's get into it. All right, wall fans, comment sensors, podcast consumers, welcome to another exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall. This is episode 10, and I am your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And yeah, 10 episodes in. This thing's still cooking along, and we're continuing it, definitely until we're in a little better state as far as quarantine and everything. And then hopefully we will be getting back to the full Go Tell It to the Wall episodes sometime soon. We'll see. Who knows with everything that's going on. But of course, for episode 10, we always kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with us during episodes, after episodes, for episodes, whenever you so please. And you can do that in multiple locations. We're currently live on Facebook. Head to facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. That's where you can find our live feeds, keep up to date with pretty much everything that has to do with Go Tell It to the Wall. Common Sense Sundays, the YouTube channel, all that good stuff. And of course, speaking of the YouTube channel, head over to YouTube, search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe to our channel. You're going to find all of the live feed videos posted up there. You're also going to find our beer reviews posted up there, our parenting playlist, our mental health playlist, Mental Health Mondays. Pretty much all the videos live on our YouTube channel, so make sure you're subscribed and checking those out there if that's something you're interested in. And of course, most importantly, all-encompassing of those things I just mentioned would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That is our official website. That is your one-stop shop for everything that is Go Tell It to the Wall and everything that is Sean O'Rourke Live. You're going to find links to those things I just mentioned, so even if you don't remember how to find things, although Facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall seems pretty easy to remember, you're going to have links right there. You're also going to find a link to our Patreon campaign. That's a place you can help us out financially. You can help us out with $1. You can help us out with $5. You can help us out with $10. However much you want, that would be the place to do it if you enjoy what you're hearing. Help to keep this studio running. Like I said, I always say every little bit helps. And support any other artists out there that you enjoy. Many of them, especially artists that don't have a huge name, like, aren't with a major network or anything. You're going to find them most likely on Patreon. So make sure you're supporting any artists that you love, because especially in this day and age, everyone puts out stuff for free. This podcast is free. Go Tell It to the Wall. All the content for Go Tell It to the Wall is free. We don't even really have much sponsorship. And consider that when you think of all the other artists out there putting this stuff out into the world for you, for your entertainment. Help them out, because it's tough making a living as an artist, as a broadcaster, as a musician, all those things, and Patreon is a great place to do that. I mentioned beer reviews. I swear, beer reviews are coming this week. They're actually done. I spent this past week editing a bunch of new beer reviews. Some of them, there's literally beer review videos that I have in the hopper that have been there for like a year. So I'm finally getting through all of it. There's new beer reviews going up on the YouTube channel this week, so look forward to that, especially because we're all kind of stuck at home still. So maybe you're looking for a new brew to try out, new beer. That's going to be a good place to find some new ones, especially if you're into craft brews and that kind of stuff. And I always say this on the beer reviews because I'm in Southern California, so a lot of stuff is Southern California based. So if you're in Southern California, you're going to be able to find most of those beers. A lot of them are nationwide, but unfortunately for those of you on the East Coast, we haven't had a lot of beers from the East Coast lately, just because not having stuff shipped to me. So a lot of it is Southern California, but hopefully you're able to find some new tasty brews out of that. They are definitely no BS beer reviews. I'm not talking about all the craziness. I actually have a cousin who is a beer sommelier. I don't have that extensive knowledge. I just know what I like and what I dislike and what things taste like. A lot of likes in there. Yeah, sometimes it happens. I'm from Southern California. For the love of God, it's like part of our language. See, I just did it again. All right, still no webcams. For those of you that only listen to audio, this means nothing to you, but still no webcams available. I feel like I'm hitting the point where I'm going to have to call someone and like go meet in the back of a parking garage while they open their trunk and there's like, which one are you interested in? Like that, I feel like that's what it's going to take to get a webcam right now. They're just non-existent. I've been checking almost daily when I think of it, and because they pop up but then they're gone. They pop up then they're gone. They pop up then they're gone. My favorite is I've been like looking at Best Buy, and most days because Best Buy has them listed, they're more or less just sold out pretty much everywhere. You cannot order them directly online from Best Buy to have it shipped to you, but you can do store pickup. And just about every time I go check, it's like, oh, there's none available within 250 miles of where you live. It's like, oh, great. I gotta drive 300 miles to get a webcam. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But we will get one of those. And fortunately, I possibly have figured out the comment situation here, so we're actually going to see the comments and stuff, so that hopefully, as people join, we're going to actually see those comments. So it is a little bit better, but we're working to get that webcam. It's so funny, the quality difference, and apologies to those of you that only listen to the actual audio on the podcast and have zero interest in the videos, but the video quality between what we're doing for Facebook Live and what we do for the beer reviews and Mental Health Mondays and everything, it's astronomical, the difference, because we need a better live feed setup, and that is coming as soon as there's no longer a shortage on webcams. That's what gets me too. It's like, y'all just having Zoom calls. Like, you don't need the fancy streaming webcam that I'm trying to get my hands on. And I could get one, like, right now, but it's literally $100 to $200 more than it should cost, because they're price gouging the ones that you actually can find. So I'm just gonna nail one down, and hopefully soon we'll have a better live feed set up in the studio here. We're gonna do some more content with Something's Not Right Studios, and the problem is we can't do interactive content because my setup is just very, very subpar compared to Something's Not Right Studios live streaming setup. So we're working on that. All right, very important. Before we move on to digital trends, definitely the most important thing I will mention or talk about this week, and that is a very, 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 very happy anniversary to my amazing, beautiful wife, Diana. We celebrated our 5th anniversary yesterday on July 18th. That's right, 5 years of wedded bliss, and I always need to take a moment to point that out and give a very happy anniversary to my wife. And also to our on-air producers, Chris and Bridget Hassong. We share an anniversary. That's right, we absolutely share the same wedding anniversary. They were, of course, stuck at home yesterday, and my wife and I were, of course, stuck at home yesterday, popped a bottle of champagne, and enjoyed ourselves a little. We actually ordered some takeout. We haven't had takeout in so long. Finally ordered some takeout last night to kind of celebrate our 5-year wedding anniversary. Really disappointing. I wanted to have a party. I've been planning for like a year or two, not planning the whole party, but I was and not some big bash, like rent out a hall or anything. but I really wanted to have a 5th anniversary party. So that's going to be coming down the pipe soon. Maybe we'll add that on Patreon. If you become a patron at a certain level, you can come and attend my 5th anniversary party, which will probably happen closer to my 6th anniversary. And I will tell everyone out there, I know this is going to sound silly and cliche. I will say, if you're someone that's not married, or you've thought about it, it's not something to rush into by any means. Don't go out and just marry anybody, that you can live with. And in fact, my mother gave me great advice years ago, and I actually included that in my vows. And she told me, don't marry someone you can live with, marry someone you can't live without. And I'll tell you, as much as I say don't rush into marriage, don't get married just to get married, don't get married just to have kids, definitely don't get married because you think it's going to fix a relationship. It's not. It's not. But I will tell you, if you find the right person, marriage is just the most amazing thing on the face of the earth. Probably second only to parenthood. But it is amazing as long as you find the right person. And I genuinely was one of those people, I did not think I was ever going to find the right person. My father used to say I was going to be a perpetual bachelor, which is something they called same-sex people in the 70s. Like, oh, he's a perpetual bachelor. Like, yeah, no. More just because I wasn't going to get married. And I'm going to pull the Seinfeld quote. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It was just funny because it was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to get married. My mother used to get mad at my father. Like, no, he's getting married. I don't know, Ma. We'll see. But most importantly, happy anniversary to my beautiful, amazing wife. And happy anniversary to Chris and Bridget Hassan, who have helped to grow and keep this Go Tell It to the Wall empire running on a weekly basis. All right, some digital trends. Apparently today is National Ice Cream Day. I get so confused by this. The days mix up with me, and I think part of my, and it's not my problem, it's part of the confusion that I get with social media is I obviously have a lot of friends, family too, in the United States. I also have a ton of friends in the UK. And so when things start popping up in my feeds, I'm like, wait, what's going on here? It's always interesting. So I believe today is National Ice Cream Day. Of course, now that I'm saying that, hashtag National Ice Cream Day, it's not international, so I don't know. It's either today or it was yesterday. Nonetheless, this is the ice cream industry's way of getting you to eat ice cream, because apparently you need more motivation to eat ice cream. Personally, I'm not a huge ice cream fan. I prefer baked goods. I will eat ice cream, don't get me wrong. My wife bought some of that half-baked from Ben & Jerry's. I will destroy a pint of half-baked. Just don't get me wrong on that. However, if I come up to a dessert table and there's like, oh, here's an ice cream sundae bar and here's like cakes and cookies, I'm usually going for the cakes and cookies and stuff. I do enjoy a great banana split or some bananas Foster, where you get that like hot fudge or that, the hot bananas and cinnamon and brown sugar on the banana. Oh, so good. But like I said, today is hashtag National Ice Cream Day, so it's an excuse for you to eat ice cream. I'm going to tell my wife, and she'll probably eat some ice cream. I think we got a couple pints of Ben & Jerry's still in the freezer here, so she'll be happy that it's National Ice Cream Day. My wife is a big ice cream fan. Worked at Baskin-Robbins in high school. I've never been. I will eat it, if it's there, especially if it's a hot day. But I prefer like cookies and cakes and stuff. And trust me, I have a sweet tooth. It's just I've had one since I was a kid. My family owned a candy store. That was dangerous. Good Lord, I don't know how I wasn't an overweight teenager. I think my only saving grace was being an athlete that was able to burn off all that sugar. But man, that sweet tooth, I always had it and still hasn't gone away to this day. Now, of course, you got to be careful with things like hashtag National Ice Cream Day, especially if you want to utilize it for some marketing for your own brand, your own company, whatever it might be. Now, specifically, I found an example of the way not to do it, and that's a hashtag that's trending right now on the social platforms. It's hashtag Sensodyne Sunday, not Sunday like Common Sense Sunday, Sunday like the ice cream sundae. Sensodyne Sunday. If you're not familiar with Sensodyne, it is toothpaste. It is toothpaste. It's actually very good toothpaste. I use Sensodyne. I have sensitive teeth, and I enjoy Sensodyne. However, my first thought when I saw this hashtag Sensodyne Sunday, was somebody was making a sundae out of toothpaste, which is utterly disgusting. However, this is actually some kind of contest where Sensodyne was sending ice cream sundae kits like out to customers or whatever to enjoy for National Ice Cream Day. But like I said, here's an example where that marketing team probably should have thought a little bit more on the hashtag they were going to use. I'm sure I'm not the only one that had the thought of, oh my god, people are making ice cream sundaes out of toothpaste. Toothpaste sundaes. No, thank you. Now, so you can go enjoy the hilarity with that one, because it's funny because people were sharing it. They're like, whoa, thank you, Sensodyne, for sending me this ice cream sundae kit. And then people were like, what the hell is Sensodyne sundae? Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, man. All right, more digital trends. Chris Wallace is trending on digital platforms right now. If you're not familiar with Chris Wallace, he is a Fox News anchor. We don't get super in-depth on politics here. We use common sense to unpack any political stories or political leaning things. But if you're not familiar with Chris Wallace, he is kind of, for lack of a better phrase, he was one of the better Fox News hosts who had in the past and has now a little more common sense. He's actually trending on social platforms right now because he called the Orange Menace out on some of his lies in an interview. Now, I don't want to get into the specific lies, but I will tell you, if you have not seen this, go check it out, because we are truly looking at a child who's being told they're wrong and refuses to accept the fact that they are actually wrong. So go watch the interview, because it's a petulant child sitting there across from Chris Wallace. And the thing is, I'm not going to convince anyone otherwise. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about that in mental health this week. So I'm not. This is really just for an understanding and more of a justification for anyone out there who's like, maybe I'm a little harsh on the Orange Menace. You're not. You're absolutely not too harsh on the Orange Menace. We live in a ridiculous world right now with everything that's happening, and Chris Wallace is calling him out on it. I encourage you to go check out this clip if you haven't seen it. Thanks, Paul. We got John Ford on the live feed, as well as Paul Smith of Zombie Teeth Clothing. Thank you. This is one of my favorite Interrupter shirt. I'm wearing my animated band Interrupter shirt today. It's definitely one of my favorites. I enjoy it. I have too many Interrupters shirts, actually, and in fact, and Paul, you'll appreciate this. I was going back and forth and didn't do an actual count, but I was going back and forth with my sister Laura the other day over text, and we were talking about T-shirts and stuff. And I was like, it's either Rancid or Barstool Preachers that I have the most shirts of. I think it's actually now the Barstool Preachers. And Paul, since you're on the feed, three of those shirts, 3 of the T-shirts and a sweatshirt all have your art on them. So I have 3 Barstool Preachers T-shirts with Zombie Teeth Clothing art on it. Wait, what's that one? I know, it's really crazy, right, John? John's referencing the interview. Paul, you have shirts. I've seen your shirts, Paul. You just posted a photo of them the other day. And I also have a hoodie. I have a problem when it comes to merch, and one of my personal favorite bands actually came out with some new merch the other day, so we're going to get into that. But shout out to Chris Wallace. I hate giving a good on you to a Fox News anchor, but he did something good. Just talking to a petulant child. Anyway, moving on. Make America Great Again is trending on the social platforms right now, really as of this morning. And it's funny, I had to click on this one. I was like, what is going on? Well, and apparently the Orange Menace tweeted out in all caps sometime this morning, "Make America Great Again," which is like, and usually I avoid these things because you're going to run across supporters. There's still tons of Trump supporters that I run across on social media. I'm sure, Paul, you being in the UK, there's tons of Boris Johnson supporters. And it's just like, how can this possibly still be happening? But it does. So I'm always wary to click on these kind of things. However, I was pleasantly surprised with this one because it involved people calling the Orange Menace out on his shit here, and how he has had 3.5 years to make America great again and has not made America great at all. In fact, has set us back years, if you ask me. But at the very least, common sense shows you that we have been set back. We have not gotten better. We have not gotten better. That's the problem here. So hopefully, come November, we're going to be put on a path toward getting somewhere better. But until then, we're living in this world. We're living in it, and there's nothing we can do at this point. All right, one other person that's trending on social media right now, and I'd just like to give a big shout out. This one is a great good on you. Stuart Scott. For those of you not familiar with sports, I have brought up Stuart Scott before in the same way that I bring up Jimmy V and the Jimmy V Foundation. Stuart Scott was an anchor for ESPN here in the U.S. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years back from cancer and was a huge vocal voice for cancer research. The reason he's trending is today would have been his 55th birthday. He passed away entirely too young from a horrible disease. He left behind, I believe, 2 daughters. I know he had kids and a wife, obviously. So I want to take a moment to recognize the greatness of Stuart Scott. Even if you're not a sports fan, I encourage you to just go on YouTube and watch his speech from the ESPYs. I'm blanking on the year. If Chris was on the live feed right now, he would have the year just right, I guarantee, off the top of his head. But just look up the Stuart Scott ESPY acceptance speech, and regardless of sports fandom, it's just great living. It's great words from somebody who knew the end was near, and was still fighting, and was still not only fighting for their own life, but fighting for research for other people that will have to deal with this horrible disease someday. So huge shout out to the great Stuart Scott from ESPN. From ESPN and many other great things, but he is most well known for being on ESPN. And for those of you that are just casual ESPN fans, he was the cool one back in the 90s. Made SportsCenter kind of cool, threw out more of these, slang terms instead of being real buttoned up like a news anchor. He was a little more loose with everything in a good way. Made it more fun as opposed to just a news segment, which kind of SportsCenter had been before that. Yeah. And I just realized, Paul, if you need an animated cartoon band interrupter shirt, Kings Road. Do the UK site, though, because it's going to cost you $1,000 to ship it. But that should be on the Kings Road UK site. And they might still have a sale going on. Interrupters had a big sale going on with their Kings Road site about a week ago. I'm not going to tell that story because I'm going to keep it to myself. But if other people that know me personally want to hear the story of my last Kings Road order, I will tell it to you personally. I'm not going to put it out there on the air. But I did get myself a new Interrupters hat. All right, some COVID updates. Los Angeles is setting records daily. I found myself laughing just because that's all I could do. Found myself laughing the other day when I got one of those. Los Angeles sets a daily record for COVID cases. I went, yeah, it's just every day. And I laughed. And I turned to my wife and I was like, we set another record until tomorrow. And it's not me laughing because I think it's funny. It's just I don't know what else to do. You laugh or you cry. And it's so out of hand, especially here in Los Angeles. In California overall, and for those of you that aren't in the U.S., we have hot spots all around the country right now, and Los Angeles, California overall, but Los Angeles specifically is one of the hot spots, and cases are just increasing. And it's wild because I was actually talking to some friends that live in New York yesterday. We were on a Zoom call with multiple friends, and toward the end of it, my wife and I asked them, like, oh, how is it there? Are you guys done? They're like, no, they're getting ready to move on to phase 4, but they're taking it very seriously. And I don't want to go through the phases, but, the reopening phases, if you're not familiar with it, they're moving into that final phase. Also taking it very seriously and saying, don't mess this up. But New York, the place that was the absolute hot spot in this country back in March and April, is actually coming out of it. Because they took it seriously. They locked it down. Los Angeles is really about a day away from getting put on lockdown once again, where you got to stay home unless you're going out for like prescriptions, grocery store, absolute needs. We're going to be stuck in the house, which is what I'm doing anyway. I'm in this house. I've got asthma. I'm high risk. My wife has asthma. She's high risk. I'm staying the hell away from everybody except my wife and kid. And that's the thing. Too many people aren't taking it seriously. I'm seeing it on social media. Tons of people. And that's it. Like I said, you're not going to convince Orange Menace supporters otherwise. At this point, I don't think you're going to convince anti-mask people otherwise. You can try to, but we're just not going to convince them. As common sense as it is, we're not going to convince them. And I see it on social media. I also see it just standing at my bay window in my house. I look out to, and I live in Highland Park, which is a fairly busy area of Los Angeles. And I stand at my window and I could see all the people running around without masks, interacting and stuff. And I'm not talking about families, that are in the same house, and I look across the street like, oh yeah, no, I'm talking, you see a car drive up and then they go in and nobody's got masks on, and it's ridiculous. And that's the thing, is we're never going to get through it. We simply opened up too early. That's the problem here. Absolutely opened up too early. The United States is the worst country in the world right now when it comes to COVID. And certain areas like California, Texas, Arizona, Florida are all absolute hot spots. And I'm just here right in the middle of it, in Los Angeles. But what can you do? What did hit me real hard today was an article's floating around right now. For those of you that are like me and live your life by going to shows and concerts and bands and everything else, there's some talk right now that large festivals and concerts might not be coming back until 2022. 2022, not 2021, 2022. I am actually currently ticketed and scheduled for 2 shows, a big festival next year in April, and then of course the Hella Mega Tour there in July. So as of right now, I am ticketed and scheduled for 2 shows in 2021, and I'm actually ticketed for more shows that simply haven't been rescheduled. So this is going to be interesting. The interesting side of it is it's not necessarily because we will still be in a full pandemic. There's some insurance worries when it comes to these large festivals and shows and everything else. So it's gonna be something to follow. My mental health is hoping to God that it's not gonna be 2022, because I can't. It's been long enough. This is the longest I've gone without a live show in years, and it can't happen. I need it personally to come back. But now, of course, on the other side of that, I don't want everything to reopen. I don't want people to die so that I can go see a show. I just want people to be smart, wear masks, stay home, wash your hands, and let's get through this. Have some good news on COVID, though. We have a company that has had some success with a vaccine so far. Now, I'm not going to get into all the terminology and the medical stuff. It kind of made my head not hurt, but I was just like, okay, there's a reason I didn't go to medical school. I went to film school because I science, and that's like, I don't know what's happening here, but I can tell you they've gone through their initial tests, which is like the first test on people, and have had so far some success with it. So it looks like they are moving on to the next test, which is going to be the vaccine given to more people. And if that's successful, then they keep moving on the tests. And this is actually some good news for dealing with COVID. I'm not in a hurry. I don't want to go on one of those tests, but I told my wife the other day, I was like, as soon as they're like, this can go to everybody, I'm like, stick it in my arm. Give it to me. Give it to me right now. And I hate needles. I'm going to be able to give it to me. Put it in my veins, because I'm ready to move out of this, and we're going to get there someday. We just all need to respect each other. We all need to be smart. We all need to be healthy. And just use common sense. And one day, we won't be living in a pandemic. Until the next one comes along. I don't even want to talk about that squirrel in Colorado. I'm just ignoring that. I'm like, nope, that's not happening. No. That didn't happen. I know it happened. I'm just ignoring it. All right, parenting. I want to talk a couple things on parenting. A couple tips. Not even really tips, because I'm always behind on certain things. You'll understand why as I get through this parenting segment here. Watched Mary Poppins Returns last night with my 3-year-old. She loved it. She loves Mary Poppins. And in fact, she was so funny because she asked me, like 2/3 of the way through the movie, she turns to me, she goes, "Daddy, are they going to do Step in Time?" And I was like, I don't think so, honey. It's a sequel, not a remake. But I will say, Emily Blunt, fantastic in it. I really enjoyed it myself. I like Mary Poppins. I wouldn't say like I'm a huge Mary Poppins fan. I liked it as a kid, but I'm not like, give me the Mary Poppins. There's other Disney films that I enjoyed more as a kid, and even still today. Don't get me wrong, Dick Van Dyke is an absolute treasure. And in fact, I don't want to spoil it for any... Mary Poppins Returns has been out for years, but everyone probably knows there is going to be a Dick Van Dyke cameo. There was a Dick Van Dyke cameo, and I'm watching it, and I turned to my wife, I was like, that's not Dick Van Dyke. That is a stunt double doing this right now. And she goes, no. That's Dick Van Dyke. She actually had looked it up, and I went, oh my God, that dude's in his 90s. I turned around, I was like, I couldn't do that. I'm not even 40 yet. I couldn't do that. But Dick Van Dyke, national treasure. International, come on now. Unbelievable human being, actor, singer, dancer, performer, entertainer. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it. My kid loved it. But I'm still dealing with this challenge of stimulation for a 3-year-old. And it's funny, I know a lot of other parents are dealing with this, and I had a friend from high school who had I think tweeted or something the other day and was like, how parents with one kid, how are you dealing with this? Because I have my kid, I have 2, I think he has 3, he's got multiple kids, but they're entertaining each other to an extent. I was like, you know what, that's true. If I had another kid, it would be a little better. And I've talked to friends that are like, yeah, no, it's rough right now, but we just open the back door and multiple kids, they go out and they play and they get in the sandbox and swing set and all this other stuff. And I got a 3-year-old and I can't just kick her out the door and say, hey, go play in the yard. She's a little too young. So it's keeping that entertainment and stimulation. And I realized there's a lot of stuff out there. So it's finding other activities, in which you can Google these things, go to parenting sites. There's all kinds of cool, easy stuff. Like definitely the ice excavating stuff is super easy, especially if you get like a wooden mallet. Look that stuff up. But there's also these other resources available for you. What we use at my house is a koala box. And here's the thing with my house. We don't watch a lot of TV in my house. My wife and I do. When my kid goes to bed, my wife and I usually, we unwind. We have a couple shows we watch. Like, we watch a movie. Last night we watched Bedknobs and Broomsticks. The two of us did, like, late at night. We were like, just throw something on. Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I hadn't seen that thing in 30 plus years. But my kid doesn't watch it. She watches like a half an hour of television a day. Maybe like 45 minutes. And that's it. So constantly looking for other things. And the Koala Box is a great resource. It's a subscription box. You've probably seen commercials. There's another one called Little Passports. I really like the Koala Box. And they actually, it's actually Kiwi Box is the name of the company. So they have boxes for like all the way up to 14 years old. I think some of the teen boxes have like coding stuff and activities like that. So we get a box that's specific to my kid's age. It has a book in it, has activities, craft activities, and you end up doing a lot of cool stuff. So if you're a parent out there and you're trying to keep your kid entertained, especially if they don't watch a ton of television, or even if you're limited on space, maybe you're in an apartment or a townhouse, look at those Kiwi boxes or the Little Passports. These are great resources and fairly inexpensive, especially you can catch deals on them. These are great resources to keep your kid entertained and educated. These are a lot of educational stuff in here as well, which is obviously very important, depending on your kid's age. Development. If they're at a serious developmental age, you definitely want to have educational stuff in there. I mean, you always do, but especially at certain ages. Like my kid's 3, so everything, it's like letters and numbers and everything else, and obviously, fine motor skills, but everything revolves around education. I'm gonna save that actually because we are running a little short on time. That's funny. I'm saving a parenting story for 2 weeks in a row now. This happens sometimes. I have to go back in my notebook a lot of times and realize like, oh yeah, I never talked about that. I can use that now when I'm hurting for content, which is it's kind of what's happening now because there's not a lot of entertainment news and film news, that kind of stuff, which is a lot of my bread and butter. And digital trends, yeah, but when it came to Go Tell It to the Wall, entertainment news and tech news was huge. Not a lot of that going on right now because pandemic and all. All right, mental health. I want to talk briefly about this, and then we're actually probably going to talk about this more in depth in Mental Health Mondays. So make sure you check that out on the YouTube channel. I've seen this a lot. I mean, this is nothing new, especially since 2016. But over the past couple days, I saw just a ton of this, and a lot of it involves hypocrisy. I don't even necessarily want to unpack that. I just want to talk about, from a mental health standpoint, arguing with others online. I mentioned it earlier in the episode. Chances are you're not going to change someone's mind. At this point, if somebody is supporting the Orange Menace and wants him to be reelected in November, there's absolutely nothing you can do to convince them otherwise. There's nothing. Because if all the stuff that guy has done to this point hasn't gotten them to realize that he is a bad human being, it's never going to change. So when it comes to your mental health, you need to at least partly know that. At least keep that in the back of your mind. Maybe you do want to say your piece, but don't get into any kind of back and forth. It is literally like talking to a wall. I know that real well, because that's what I do. I go yell things at a wall. It is like talking to a wall when you're talking to supporters like this. Anti-mask people, talking to a wall. COVID is a hoax people, talking to a wall. You're not going to convince them to wear a mask, especially not in an online forum. And I get it. People want to say their piece. People want to be heard, and you should be heard. But not at the cost of your mental health. It should never cost your mental health, especially when you're most likely not going to convince someone otherwise. That's the important thing to remember. Scroll along. Scroll along. But do choose those battles wisely. You can use facts at times, but just don't let it eat you up. Don't let it get to that point where all you're doing is trying to convince someone otherwise, knowing in the back of your mind that it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So take care of yourselves, because that can be taxing. It's taxing for me just reading it, and I don't even interact a lot of times. I see stuff and I'm like, good Lord. Like, whoa. I've seen that there's a video floating around. Two guys went to Huntington Beach. And for those of you that aren't from California, and you think like, oh, California's great, it's so liberal and all this other stuff, and progressive and all this other stuff. Yeah, go to Orange County. It's another freaking country. Huntington Beach, these guys went out and tried to give away free masks. People cursed at them, wanted to fight with them, and all this other stuff. Southern California. Not going to convince them otherwise. Choose those battles wisely and take care of yourself mentally. Because it's not worth you breaking down to then not actually even make any kind of a difference when it comes to discussing things with people. Not worth it. Not worth it. All right, let's get through some entertainment news here. I mentioned Palm Springs on the last episode. Watched it last weekend, actually. Fantastic. If you have Hulu, watch Palm Springs. It is great. It is so much fun. It's also one of these things where you're entertained, but you're not getting taxed like keeping track of things throughout the film. It's a fun, dialogue, character-driven film. If you have Hulu, watch Palm Springs. If you don't have Hulu, don't go to someone's house with Hulu, because you should be staying at your own damn house, but find a way to watch it. It is fantastic. Get Hulu. Get the free trial or whatever. They have packages now. You can get Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus like all together. I think it's fairly inexpensive. I don't do that. I mentioned this like a year ago on Go Tell It to the Wall. My wife and I paid like 3 years in advance for Disney Plus because it ended up coming out to like $3 a month. So just like, here, take the money. I got a kid at home. And sure enough, I was able to watch Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And we are getting dangerously close. We're going to talk more about this as we get closer, but we are getting dangerously close to the Muppets series on Disney Plus, and you know that I will be watching that, all of it, in my eyeballs as soon as it comes out, because for those of you that don't know, I am a bit of a Muppets fan. I'm a bit of a Jim Henson fan. Half of this studio is full of Jim Henson and Muppet things. Got a Fraggle up there, got an animal there, there's another animal, there's a Dr. Teeth, there's, oh man, so many, and all the stuff back here that's not even on the camera. So much of it. Looking forward to that. And if you haven't seen the promo they did for that one, check it out. You can find it on YouTube or really any of those platforms, I'm sure. Just Google it, it'll come up. It's not something you have to pay to see, it's just a promo for the show. All right, sports back and more coming. We do have sports coming back. MLS, I mentioned one of the games last weekend was canceled. I mentioned that last episode. MLS is actually still playing. They're in their little bubble. I'm not going to get into details on that. That's Major League Soccer. And we are getting closer and closer to basketball and hockey coming back. I think basketball, I believe, is the 31st. Hockey's right around that time. They're still ironing out some wrinkles. And baseball right around that same time. A couple interesting things, though. Even for those of you that aren't sports fans necessarily, there is a baseball team, Major League Baseball team in Toronto, the Toronto Blue Jays. The Canadian government actually told them they cannot play at their stadium. And the reason being that in baseball, they're traveling. They're planning to have teams travel to stadiums. No fans in the stadiums, in the ballparks, but they're planning to have people travel. And Canada said, nope, you're not going to have a bunch of Major League Baseball teams travel to Canada, which is interesting. And for those of you that are even casual sports fans, yes, there is a basketball team in Canada from Toronto, the Toronto Raptors, the reigning NBA champions right now. But the reason that they're actually playing in the NBA, but the reason is they went down to Florida to play in this bubble. And then, of course, there are multiple NHL teams that reside in Canada. But fortunately for those teams, actually all of the NHL teams, they're playing at 2 sites in Canada. So they're going to be bubbled up there in Canada. It's really MLB that's going a little too ridiculous with this and trying to get all these moving parts working. So it sounds like Toronto Blue Jays will likely play in a different place here in the U.S., but we'll see. Personally, I said it last week, and I will say it again. I don't see any of these sports finishing. I'm surprised. I would be surprised if they even really get started. MLS got started. I don't see any of them finishing, especially baseball, who are not doing this bubble environment, or the NFL football, who are not doing any kind of bubble environment. They're just like, we're going to play football this season. It's like, are you sure about that, guys? Because I don't know if you are. I'm not sure that you are. All right. Yeah, they're not going to finish. I feel like that was a lot of sports. A lot of sports this week. But it's always socially relevant when we talk sports. And it's interesting that these major, billion-dollar industries trying to get off the ground in the middle of a pandemic. It's actually quite fascinating. I've even been talking to my wife, my wife is not a sports fan, and she's just been like, wow, how are they going to do that? Stuff like that. It's just interesting. Like I said, new Unwritten Law merch. We were talking about some merch at the top of the episode here. New Unwritten Law merch is available. They finally launched their new merch site. I knew it had to be coming because they were planning on touring. So they should be on tour right now in Australia. I was supposed to see them back in May down there in San Diego. So you knew new merch was coming. They finally launched this site. There's stuff available on there. You're gonna find some t-shirts, hats, shorts. They made some shorts because shorts and sweatpants are a thing the bands are doing. I'm a merch sucker, and of course. They made a mask, so I went ahead and ordered a mask, and I'm just waiting for a zip hoodie to pop up on the site. In fact, I was going back and forth with whoever's running the Unwritten Law social media account yesterday, and I was like, zip hoodies, and they're like, it's summer, and I was like, I don't care. Sitting inside anyway, just crank the air conditioning. I like my zip hoodies. I have too many of them. Too many band zip hoodies. And hopefully new music from Unwritten Law soon. I gotta imagine that's coming soon. We're supposed to have it. It's been coming soon for about a year now from Unwritten Law, and of course, the pandemic changes a lot of things. But come on, guys, let's get some new music out there. All right, and another thing I want to mention, I've been failing to promote other broadcasters and artists and everything else. I feel like when we started Common Sense Sundays, I had a few, but I want to take a moment to recommend, and we're gonna do this every episode. Other podcasts, other artists, and stuff to you. And I have mentioned him before. That would be Zombie Teeth Clothing. He's an artist, Paul Smith, who is also a friend of mine. So I've mentioned the Threadless site. We've literally had one of his shirts and masks on here. But I also want to take a moment to mention there is a Zombie Teeth podcast, if you're interested, where Paul interviews musicians from around the world. Specifically, he's gotten 2.5 of the Barstool Preachers, and the only reason I say half is because he has interviewed someone who filled in for the Barstool Preachers on one of their more recent tours, who's not actually a permanent member but has played with the Barstool Preachers. And if you know this podcast and you know me, I have an obsession with the Barstool Preachers. They are now. I'm going to do a count today. I think my Preachers shirts now outnumber my Rancid shirts. So, I'll have to do a count. I'll get back to everyone on the next episode. But make sure you check out Zombie Teeth Podcast. It's available on Spotify. It's on other platforms. I use Spotify. I know it's on there, but usually, podcasts just pop up everywhere. Stitcher and all this stuff. I'm sure he's got it everywhere. And then follow Zombie Teeth on Instagram. It's going to keep you updated on anything. Hey, see, that's Paul. Going to keep you updated on new episodes. I'm a couple episodes behind Paul. But I gotta catch up. It's just the problem is when I got a 3-year-old running around, I start trying to listen to podcasts and it's a thing, and she's climbing walls and everything else. It's just part of it. And get some designs from Zombie Teeth Clothing, which is fantastic. I meant to message you, Paul. I love the new the wear the mask design. I'm probably picking up one of those shirts. Just give me all the Zombie Teeth shirts. All right, on that note, we went way over time today. Genuinely thought it was going to be a shorter episode. Please make sure you are keeping up with us on Facebook, facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. I know. I'm going to get on it, Paul. I'm catching up on the podcast. Paul's giving me a hard time for not being caught up on the podcast. Facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. Of course, YouTube. Head over to YouTube, search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe to our channel. Most importantly would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Bookmark that one, check back often. And also make sure you're subscribed to the actual podcast. If you're just streaming it, clicking the little subscribe actually helps our numbers overall. Even if you're streaming it helps the numbers, but having additional subscribers also helps the numbers. So make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast your favorite podcast platform, whatever that might be. I use Google Play Music and Spotify, but there's so many of them out there, so use whatever you're most comfortable with. Just make sure you subscribe. You know, it's important. And follow my own personal Instagram account. I like to throw that out there once in a while. SoCal Sean, that's right. Lots of kid and concert photos up there. All right, that's going to do it for episode 10 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall. I am, of course, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. We will be back next week, same wall place, same wall time. And until then, remember, wall fans, Common Sensors podcast consumers, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you go, and especially no matter why you aren't doing it, always, always use common sense. I've got to get a new chair in here. I always finish up the episode and then I lean and the chair starts making noises. This is what happens when you have like a cheap Amazon, I think this was like an Amazon Basics chair. It's one of those things where it's like, do I want to spend money on a nice chair that makes no noise or use that money? Probably should have bought the nicer chair. It happens. Thank you to everyone for joining in. Hi, John. I'm glad you were able to join. I think you're still on there. And of course, Paul. Always a pleasure when you are on the feed, and I promise I will catch up on the podcast. Maybe I'll go do it now. My kid is sleeping. No, I gotta do some more work here, and I gotta go shoot a Mental Health Mondays. Tonight, I'll catch up tonight, because I do love the podcast, and it's just a matter of like, I gotta catch up on Punksylvania too. I'm like a couple behind on Punksylvania. Those are like between Zombie Teeth, and those are two of my favorites that I like to listen to right now. So I just gotta get caught up. And I think I'm done. I'm exhausted. Gotta go do some more work. I'm happy the chat was working. But again, thank you all for joining. We'll be back next week. Same wall place, same wall time. Maybe with a new live feed setup. Who knows? Gotta find some new webcams. Ooh, and you got the pinks. I think I saw you tease that one. Yeah, see, and that's the thing. You got all the artists that I really like. I gotta get caught up, and I'm gonna guarantee I'm gonna enjoy that one as well. All right, that's it. This has been the live feed for episode 10 of Common Sense Sundays. And if you've got any complaints whatsoever, go tell them to a wall.